Okay, good afternoon. And wow, what an event this has become. And I think TPW is sort of an antithesis for old, boring procurement conferences. In the same way, I do believe what I'm going to speak today about data-driven, sustainable, and agile procurement is an antithesis to governance, process, compliance. I do believe for the last 10 years, 15 years, procurement has been obsessed about processes, compliance, and governance. And while we need some of that, I do believe the next frontier of procurement value is on data-driven, sustainable, agile procurement. My name is Sammeli, Sammalkorpi. I'm CEO and co-founder at Sievo. This is something you did not know. My name is Sammeli, that's my first name. And it's not a very usual name in Finland. I was given this name because this name is very closely associated to certain profession, certain occupation in Finland. And my parents, when I was born in northern Finland in Lapland, they had a very specific idea of what I should become as I grow up. They wanted me to become a reindeer farmer. So here you see me at the age of 6 or something. I look very unhappy with that prospect of becoming a reindeer farmer. Instead, what I did become, I did enjoy creating games, programming and so forth. Eventually became a software entrepreneur, founded Sievo 20 years ago. We've been focusing on procurement analytics ever since and have 350 people as of today. Now, just a moment ago, we heard about the carbon, the environment, emissions and so forth being the new requirement for the procurement. And I absolutely agree. Procurement functions were initially created to drive cost reductions, and the need to create cost reduction will stay. That's the basic requirement from the procurement function. But going forward, and already now, there's a lot more requirements set for the procurement function. Be that on carbon, be that on supplier diversity, be that on wide ESG, sustainability, risk, innovation, and so forth. So there's more and more requirements going to procurement. And for me, this means that if the traditional mindset is that procurement influences 60 to 80% of the costs of the company, I think today, speaking with our customers, speaking their procurement directors, the point is that 60 to 80% of everything is influenced by procurement. Most of your carbon is Scope 3, it's procurement related. Most of the innovation is brought through the suppliers. Most of the risks, as we've seen, again, horrible events starting last Saturday, most of the risks are related to supply chain. And for me, this is a great opportunity for procurement function. What a time to be alive in procurement function. I don't think all procurement functions will master this challenge. Not every procurement function, procurement team, procurement individual will crack this. Earlier today we heard Franz from Philip speaking about the role of integration. And I believe that's the role that procurement needs to master. Integrating all of these kind of diverse business goals, requirements across different internal functions and driving value to companies in that way. But now the challenge is that you have 5x the requirements, but procurement functions will not get 5x resources. So how do you drive this wider mandate? How do you drive the wider definition of value whilst you will not have much more resources? And I do believe data is the key solution. Now, we've all heard this, data is the new oil, and de facto data is the most valuable asset on the planet right now. Now, Norwegians, they were lucky. They were born with a lot of oil and they are now happy and rich. And this is what you get if you ask machine learning to show happy and rich Norwegian. And now the question, who are the Norwegians of the data age? Who are the people that were sort of happy enough to born with the oil or data underneath? It is the procurement. When you really think about that, there's two key interfaces between company and outside world. There's sales and marketing, who's collecting data and influencing customers and consumers and their customers. And sales and marketing is pretty good at that. And concrete evidence is that we are all getting a lot of spam emails from these automated marketing machines. But when you think of the other interface, it is really the procurement who is the key interface between company and the upstream ecosystem. And therefore, procurement is super well positioned to collect the information from suppliers, understand the market movements, understand what's happening on the innovation side, collect the carbon data, and so forth. And because 80% of everything is influenced by procurement, we as procurement need to see ourselves not only drivers of value, but actually as a data interface between company and outside ecosystem. It is our job as procurement to collect and process that data, integrate that data with our internal stakeholders, and then bring actions back to the supplier base. But now, how to do that? There's been an explosion of different kind of data sources. In this event only, we have tens and tens of different providers promising that we have the data, we have the solution, we have the integration capabilities. When it comes to data, this is how I think. I think all of us should think about data in two different axes: structured, unstructured, internal and external data. And the traditional thinking about data is structured internal data. That's all the data you have in your SAPs and Oracles and so forth, data that nicely fits to tables and columns, data that you can traditionally analyze. But we should also view all the internal unstructured data, specifications, emails from suppliers, contracts, even Teams meeting recordings with the suppliers. That is a huge repertoire of the data. And over the last 5 years, there's been more and more external structured data. You can buy credit ratings, sustainability data, carbon data, and so forth. And then of course, you have the overall internet that you can crawl and process. And when you think about how can I act as a data interface, don't focus on top left-hand corner, focus on the big picture. And now traditional analytics has been focused on here, and that's where Sievo was born. We help customers create visibility on spend and savings and whatnot. Over the last 5 years, there's been this explosion of data providers who can help you with this. But now what we've seen this year, of course, is the emergence of large language models, which suddenly means that all of this unstructured external data can be captured and processed basically at a zero cost. And it has two implications. It will fundamentally change how you should do analytics, and I believe how you should run your procurement organizations. But because everybody has access, it also means you cannot have a competitive advantage based on that. It will become like electricity. Everybody has access. What you also need to do, you need to think about your internal proprietary data sets and find a way you can use them and train your proprietary data models with this internal data. But I think the real implication here is not about the data. The real implication is about decision making. In the past, we could only process at scale, an automated way, the top left-hand corner, 1% of overall data, which meant that we as humans had to put our minds on making decisions, communicating decisions with the suppliers, and so forth. Suddenly, we have the new capabilities where we can capture and process all of that data. And that has huge implications to procurement decision-making, analytics, and how we think about procurement. And now, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Procurement Analytics Company. But I absolutely believe analytics has zero value. Data has zero value, analytics has zero value. It is the actions that require drive the value. Before action, you have decision. And yes, over the last 10 years, we at Sievo and everybody else has been trying to narrow the data to action gap. You have the descriptive, prescriptive, predictive analytics, and so forth. But now what will happen is that we are going to close the data to action gap. So we will take human off the loop for certain kind of procurement decisions. And whenever I speak about this, everybody starts about how about the decision quality, how about the trust, and so forth. Those are important questions, but they are the wrong question to ask. We are thinking in wrong ways about procurement decision making. Because this automated decision making is vastly different than human decision making. It's vastly different. If you take an average guy like me, I can do one decision per day. Today I spent 15 minutes figuring out which glasses I will wear on stage. And that was my decision of the day. Automated decision making can drive 1 million decisions per day. And of course the flip side of that is that the cost per decision will go drastically down. Suddenly the cost of decision is not hundreds or thousands of euros, but it's a fraction of this. And of course, there's an uptime question as well. As a human being, I need to be on stage, I need to go to a dinner and even sleep and stuff. The automated decision making will have completely different uptime. So the right question is to ask, if we have this kind of vastly different decision making machine, what will happen to procurement? And as first step, as humans today, we have to prioritize. We've all been through the exercise. Let's identify opportunities, let's prioritize them, complexity of implementation, value, and then we focus on the key suppliers, and then we figure out what to do with the long tail. Those are the decisions which are high-value decisions, low decision implementation complexity. Now when we get this completely new kind of decision-making, yes, it will replace some of the human decision-making, anything that can, will be automated. But even more importantly, it will expand our decision making to this long, long tail of decisions. Things that you are not doing as of today, or you try to do with the BPO partner, an offshore center and so forth. But if the decision making cost is zero, we can do a lot more decisions, a lot more actions. And also there's a very specific use case. Whenever there's a crisis, there's an earthquake somewhere, it will impact your supply chain. It will impact supply chains of many of your competition as well. And typically alternative solutions are available, but it's only the quickest one to react who can tap into that alternative sort of source of supply. If you are competing humans versus machine, the machine can do the decisions while we are asleep and issue the POs or whatever is the action we want to do. In those urgent scenarios, again, the machine will completely win over the human. So it's not really about the decision-making quality, it's about the decision-making speed, it is about faster decisions and more of them. If there's one question I'd like you to think about tonight, next week, and so forth, is that what are the decisions you are not doing today that you could and should automate? The real value of automated analytics decision-making is not reducing the human resources. There's some of that as well. But the real value is about automating the decisions that you are not currently doing. And I do believe there's few implications out of this. First of all of this external data will become commodity. So think wisely what data you want to manage yourself and what data you want to purchase. All of companies are trying to manage their vendor master. All of the companies have challenges with that, and it's basically the same data across every different company. Data like vendor master data will be something that you can buy in the next few years. Material master data, where you have your unique specifications for your unique components going into your product, that's perhaps something that you can and should manage. But this generic data will be available for everybody. And at low cost. The capability to combine internal and external data will be what kind of differs the winners from the losers. This is the most interesting for me. Now, if the decision-making cost goes drastically down, it also means that we can do much more of those decisions. And a lot of stuff that we are currently doing on event basis, supplier review meetings every 3 months, RFP for this category every 6 months, whatever supplier performance follow-up on a monthly basis. If the decision-making cost is zero, all of that will move from an event-based to continuous activity. You do it all the time. We can allow for much more interactions with suppliers, but we can also allow for much more suppliers. Nowadays, we want to consolidate the supplier base to get rid of the transaction cost and get rid of the risk and pool the volumes. But if the cost of onboarding and interacting with suppliers is zero, you can have as many suppliers as you want. Come back to crazy times. You can have a huge supplier tail, but it's actually more optimized because you can optimize for every specific use case, location, material, and so forth because the transaction cost is zero. So a lot of the things that we've learned in procurement, no PO, no pay, consolidated suppliers, and so forth, we need to rethink when the decision cost goes down. I'm not claiming this will happen to all of your categories and suppliers. For any foreseeable future, for the strategic suppliers, strategic relations, you want to throw in the human. But again, what are the decisions, what are the interactions that you are not doing today that you want to automate? And again, going back to the point that I already stated, analytics is not enough, it's the actions. So when I say we want to automate, it's not only automating the insight generation, it's also automating the actions with suppliers. In the same way, the salespeople already automate emails to us, and if we react at some point, they bring human in. In the same way, we need to automate a lot of the stuff with the suppliers, some stuff completely, some stuff, let's say, combination of human and machine as such. And we need to do that, and we need to kind of go to a speed of 100x. Trying to create more smooth, let's say, supplier interaction based on the assumption that it's still sort of document exchange between supplier and customer will not cut the ambition level here. And actually, I do believe this means that we are seeing a third generation of procurement tech coming up. The procurement tech started 40 years ago when SAP launched the material management module, and it was all about transaction automation. How can we manage the operational transactions in a more effective way? 20 years later, you've got the Coupas and sourcing suites and source to contract, source to pay, and so forth, with the value proposition that they will streamline the processes across the organization. They help you to drive, let's say, integrated global supply chain, and this was the source for a lot of, let's say, governance, compliance stuff as well. Now I believe that these underlying systems are creating a lot of data, and now we need to take that data, we need to create insights based on that data, and then we need to automate these actions across different kind of tools. And also, I do believe that not one suite can do all of this, but large enterprises need to design an architecture where you have core ERPs taking care of the transactional stuff, and then you also have, let's say, point-specific solutions creating point-specific value. But what you need to do, you need to create this hub where everything gets together and gets orchestrated to drive the actions. Now, no surprise, this is what Sievo does. So basically, we are a procurement analytics software company. We help our customers by bringing internal and external data together. We create insights out of that data, and going forward, we will help you to automate the actions on those insights across your client base. We look at the spend and savings, but we also look at the supplier diversity, CO2 footprint, scope 3 specifically. We look at the risk and so forth. Some of the solutions we bring ourselves, but then we also partner with a lot of data providers that bring further fuel to our insights. I've always said that I'm just a Finnish engineer. I have no clue on how to do sales and marketing, so don't ask me, but ask some of our clients. We serve some of the largest companies in the world, and for these companies, we have all of their spend data in our system, all categories, all businesses. We cover areas like spend, savings, and beyond. So really serving the large enterprises. If you feel have a bad data and a lot of that, bring it to us, and we will help you make sense out of that and drive actions. You'll get the slides later. I will not go there. But let's go back to this sad guy. Was he sad, or is he thoughtful? Would a reindeer farming have been a better option? Now there's so many of us, we will not do a quiz, but in your head you can think, what is the total revenue of reindeer farming industry in Finland? Just try to figure a number in your head right now. And let's see how it goes. So here you have, Sievo has been around for 20 years, and we've grown exponentially. Exponential growth was mentioned in the morning. So we've grown a lot, but have we reached the Finnish reindeer farming industry? And the unfortunate news is that not yet. Here you can see the Finnish reindeer farming industry. It's still above Sievo revenue, but the chaos will match in a couple of years. And I need your help. I need more customers to make sure that we exceed the reindeer farming industry. So please welcome. You can download slides, by the way, with the QR code. You can visit us at the booth. It's a room with large exhibitors. You can connect me on email, LinkedIn, and so forth. Thank you.